As a prospective writer, I would urge you to not only read good books, read terrible books as well, because they can be more inspiring than the good books.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the DC fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for the story we're about to go to, which you can probably guess just by looking at this half cover here. We're going to be looking at Batman the Killing Joke from 1988, written by Alan Moore, drawn by the great Brian Bolland. Or is it Bolland? Now, we're not just going to be looking at this beautiful book in color. We're going to be looking at also the Noir black and white edition. I have both the deluxe edition, the original, and the black and white one, which I absolutely adore. And here is the black and white version. Isn't it cool? Just goodness gracious. Look at that. So yeah, we're gonna flip back and forth between both. One page at a time, so look at that. It is just remarkable. So everyone should know about this story. So I'm not really gonna narrate too much of it. The Batman is essentially going to Arkham Asylum to have a talk with the Joker. You should guys go to Google and look at Alan Moore's script for this story, for the Killing Joke. Just see how much freaking detail he puts on this. And so, here's the black and white version. Isn't this just freaking lovely? Goodness gracious. Oh, wow. And so, I love the fact that very Watchmen-esque, just keeping the panels, the 9-panel grid. Just awesome. And so, I don't know if Alan Moore just fell in love with the 9-panel grid during this time. I actually use variations of the 16-panel grid, similar to Batman Dark Knight Returns. Doesn't this just look freaking brilliant? Look at this. Wow. I recommend you get the Noir version. If you don't have it, it is available on Amazon. So, Batman basically is going to talk to the Joker about, the way they behave, the way they keep fighting to each other. So, everyone knows about this story. This is the, what would you say, the unofficial origin of the Joker. I love how this was recolored, by the way. This isn't what the original looked like. I tried to find a digital version of the original, but I was unsuccessful. Brian Bolland did not like how it was colored, so he recolored it himself. I've been wanting to do this story, and I was just going to do the black and white version, but I just opted to do both. And so we find out that it's an imposter, and Batman is not too happy. Love this. Where is he? And Commissioner Gordon's like, if you hurt one hair on his head, and he's like, well, since you're so concerned, here you go. And it's funny because when you don't see that the on the black and white, so that was all done with the color. So Brian Bolland now draws digitally. But back then he was just making these tick marks. Uh, Probably with a pen. He doesn't seem to be a brush. Uh, he uses a pen. He's just meticulous. And so Joker's buying this old beat up Carnival. We get Brian Bolland's first look of the Joker. Just awesome. Oh, look at just all these ticks. It just has to be so time consuming for him. You know, he fills the blacks here, but then just so much. Brian Bolland has mostly worked for DC. I like how also he so Brian Bolland recolored this, and like I mentioned before, and he kind of gives it a black and white when we're in the past. So this would be who the Joker was before he became the Joker, and this is his pregnant wife. I love the fact that Alan Moore just took the time to humanize him. He was a person before he became this evil monster. He's just was a regular person who just had a bad day. They're late on their rent, they're poor, they just this is the landlady who's just listening in. So um he's trying to be a comedian, I believe. I haven't read it in forever, so and then the food though is in color. It's kind of funny that he decided that's where he decided to put it in, but you can just see that here. Just again, look at all these wonderful ticks. I'm telling you, go to Amazon and get the Noir edition. I just checked actually, and they still have them. So look at this. I love this panel here. I don't buy that the Joker is insane. And by the way, he kills this poor gentleman with this here. He gives him that toxin of his. Um I don't buy that he's insane. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. And that is, in my opinion, what makes the Joker so dangerous is that he uses insanity as, you know, the reason he does it, but he's not. I it just no. Love this. Brian Bolland is so great. I just wish he would draw more, but covers is about all you can get from him. And so I love this here, an homage to Bob Kane, and most likely Dick Sprang more than Bob Kane, but love the straight edge here. Trying to find the Joker. See, even here on the penny, he just how cool. You can really notice all those ticks that he makes more in the black and white version. And I love how much silence there is, or just there's still plenty of dialogue, but there's a lot of moments of silence, which I think work great. Just look at those ticks. It's I Brian Bolin is so unique. And I know that most artists are unique in their own ways, but Brian Bolin, more than anyone, you just don't see very many people even copy his style. There's one person that I have found that is similar to Brian Bolin, but I know because of his politics, he's in a lot of people's, whatever. But I love his style, and it's very Brian Bolland ash here. Oh, the scene's about to come. But I'm referring to Ethan Van Sciver, who I think is a person who is very similar, and I mean it in the ticks. If you look at the he does that also. And DC decided to make Batgirl, really be crippled, and that's how Oracle became. They at this time decided to make this part of continuity, but look at this. And I hated the movie. The animated version that came of this was just terrible. The fact that they made Batgirl and Batman be romantically involved, I just didn't care for that. Oh, just I mean, you can just feel the pain, and her dad's just looking like, what the hell did I just see? I love this panel, just looking up, her down, him in the middle, Joker above, and um, this book is, I wouldn't say it's underrated because everybody knows that this book is one of the most brilliant takes, but I think that most people just because they it gets so much praise that people just take it for granted, and I think that's I guess what I'm trying to say. People take this book for granted, and they shouldn't. I think this book should be read and reread, and just anytime you are just in the mood and you don't know what to read, I think you should grab this book and read it. I love I was gonna mention on the other one. I just love that little just shining of the eye there. It's very cool. And so we go back to the beginning where these guys are gonna hire him to um, commit a crime. He's gonna get he's basically gonna get some money. This is where he gets that Red Hood um, gimmick. He wants to be able to provide for his wife and future kid, and just doesn't seem to be able to get a break. It's what happens in life, and a lot of people make bad decisions just because they're in the same position. Not I don't think there are some bad people in this planet, but I don't think everybody just wants to be bad. I think some people turn to crime because they're desperate, and this is where we're seeing. I don't think we get his name, but this is where Joker is at this time, and I think this thing is just so gross. And I think that's the whole point of it. I think that's why they're trying to give, and just look at this just level. But I mean, I don't know. It's gross. It grosses me out. And even the black and white version, it still grosses me out. So back then he wasn't drawing digital, so I mean he was doing all this by hand. And by the way, when he draws digital now, he uses the old stuff. He doesn't use like an iPad or the new. He's using the material where he actually looks at the computer screen. So, and then this is Harvey Bullock, who just looks gutted here. So, they're getting the news that she's gonna be a cripple, basically. So, love this panel too. Just very cool. And so he gives him the name, and she's like, oh my god, he's crazier than ever. So, and that he has Jim. So, I'm sure there's better YouTube channels that cover this book, but I bet you none of them show you the black and white one. So I just don't know of anybody who doesn't know about this book. Batman the Killing Joke is a masterpiece. It is part of that Alan Moore deconstruction period. Look at how creepy it looks in black and white. Just it's like it should have been this way. It was very psychedelic with the original colors. Very I can see why Brian Bolland wasn't happy with it. Look at all these ticks just So essentially what we have here is Joker's going to try to make him go mad. He wants to prove that anyone can go mad just because they get a bad day. This is so creepy with the dolls and him sitting in that little sort of like throne room. It still has this poor guy sitting there. But this is all Joker's trying to prove, and then this is the roller coaster. So essentially, he's showing Jim Gordon that when bad things happen, he's going to turn just like him. That he's not anyone can turn into the Joker when just the right circumstances happen. But we know that's not true because bad things happen all the time to average people, and we don't all go around kill. Yes, you probably see the extreme, but most people are not like that. And so they're looking for Joker here. I think his name is Joe. So and they're saying that his wife is dead. Just here. I'm sorry, sir, but your wife had an accident this morning. Apparently, testing a baby bottle heater. There was an electrical short, and well, she died, sir. I'm sorry. And you can see the what, and just the cop is just probably not good. Not good empathy. So this poor guy just can't seem to catch a break. I love how they're like hiding from the cops. And the way it's drawn, it's not just the writing. You have to have good art. And Alan Moore is I'm sorry, Brian Bolland is a great artist. Um, it, it's so touching and so gut wrenching. It just look at this poor guy, and uh, you can't help but feel for him. I mean, there is legitimate like, I and the art is a big part of this. To me, there's just legitimate emotion. So essentially, they're like, "Well, you already committed, so we can't have you. You still have to do what you're doing." Because Joker was like, "Well, there's no point in doing what I was gonna do." So just look at how the finger. It just this panel is it's also really good. Brian Bolland is so good. And so he's about to begin the torture of Jim Gordon. And the craziest thing is that you can tell that he drew it and then added these white lines afterwards just to, I mean, and look, I mean, how meticulous. Wow. And Joker had taken pictures showing Barbara here. Just how horrible your own daughter. Just Goodness gracious. And look how monstrous and just the proportions that Brian Bolland utilizes to just make Joker not look human. And again, in black and white, just look how much different this looks. Look at this. Just wow. It's just amazing. And so Batman's of course gonna look for the Joker through different criminals. We got the Penguin here. He's not in Arkham Asylum because he's not crazy. So, but then the first panel is always just Jim Gordon keep going through that roller coaster thing. So, just so awesome. You can see him here. I mean, just the pain being shown. And so when he saw the bat signal, he's gonna go up there, and Harvey Bullock is gonna give him a carnival thing. So that's where I'm surprised the cops, didn't go out there looking for him. So um, Batman looks at it and takes off. Great panel here. And here you can tell he used a splatter. So there's probably white media here, or he probably used something to cover this up, but this is just splatter. Man, oh man. Can you imagine if Brian Boland had time to actually draw the interiors of comic books monthly or even bi monthly? Imagine if you could get one Brian Boland project per year. How great would that be? Real quick, I just want to show you. I'm going to flip between the two versions so you can look at the black and white there and the color. Just look at that. Isn't that awesome? Goodness gracious. So we continue with the torture of Jim Gordon, and just look at how compassionate those eyes almost look like. Hey, so this is a great story, and I think what makes this story so good is that it's drawn beautifully. Um, I don't think this would have the same effect if anyone else drew this except Brian Boland, or someone who didn't have command of composition. And so again, poor Joe here has to commit this crime even though his poor wife and unborn child are dead. And of course the security showed up. And how many people do you see that dazed and confused look? Just poor guy. It's just gut wrenching. I really do feel bad. I understand almost why he would do that, but you know. So I've always thought that they should do like a heel turn on Spider-Man. Here they kill these two guys and he's just running away. By doing something terrible to Aunt May. Something and just continue just as a story, even if you undid it. So I've always I don't know. Uh, they never really do heel turns with heroes that matter. And when DC does it, they just create alternate versions of them. You can see Batman's shadow right here. I love how that cop's just looking behind like, oh, look who's here. Another great panel here of Batman leaping to go catch him. So, of course, there was somebody else playing the Red Hood last time, so he doesn't know. So he jumps, but of course, this is a chemical. And so this is how he gets what he gets. With the skin. Again, look at this. Just beautiful. So he jumps into chemicals, and look at this. Even just the foliage, just the barbed wire, just, oh, goodness gracious. What a great artist. And of course, we get the other iconic scene. And so the Joker has now gone insane. Look at that. Just the adding of the blood coming through the eyes and the mouth. It just, goodness gracious. And it looks even better in black and white. Look at that. Amazing. So we're going to do that thing again here, where we're going to kind of look at that scene. What do you guys think? I think in this one the color actually helps because of the blood, but just the creepiness factor is definitely on the black and white one. So, and so, all right. Look at poor Gordon, naked and cold, and just, and Batman arrives. Anyway, I could see something similar like this to a superhero, where if you wanted to do a heel turn on that superhero, you would do something similar by having something horrible happen to, say, a loved one. Like, if you wanted, like I kept saying, Spider-Man doing something to Aunt May, and maybe not just Aunt May, not just Aunt May, but maybe something happens then to MJ, and something just, and he snaps. So, although Marvel would never do that. So look at this Batmobile. He wanted to do a Dick Sprang homage. So that's why we get that Batmobile here. And so we get the same thing we got in the beginning. Hello, I came to talk. Look at this. Just awesome. Almost reminds me of David Mazzucchelli on Year One. Just look how evil the Joker looks. So, do you guys think this story would have been just as good without Brian Bolland doing it? Like, if it would have been just any of Moore's other contributors? Because I think Bolland is what makes, more so that the story is great, but I think Bolland takes it to another freaking level. So, Batman, of course, frees Gordon here. I think this just, I think Bolland just brings this story over the top. I think it just makes a good story a great story. I wholeheartedly believe that a great artist elevates a story. So Gordon just proves that the Joker was wrong, and that he even after all this, the Joker, Jim Gordon is like, I want him brought back by the book. We have to show him that our way works. Basically, the Joker's a weakling. Great panel. This has been published very many times. I'll do my best. Look at this. Oh, man. When I was in middle school, we had Walden books at the mall, and I lived within walking distance of the mall. Like, I could be at the mall in no time. And every time I went to Walden Books, I read this and I read Dark Knight Returns all the time, and Batman Year One. They had the trades. In those days, there weren't very many trades, but these were books that were um, collected early on. Although this wasn't a collection. I mean, this is the single story in a prestige format. So I wonder how long this took Bolland to draw. I love this part. So why can't you see the funny side? Why aren't you laughing? And just the concern on his face. So, he's trying to explain why he is the way he is, which again tells you that he's not crazy. Brian Bolland here, you almost draws him normal, except for that chin. And of course, we get another iconic panel here. If Brian Bolland sold these pages, I wonder how much they're worth now. And I love this. So remember, Joker asked him, why aren't you laughing? He goes, because I've heard it before, and it wasn't funny the first time. And just bam. This story, I think, is in everyone's top 10, which just tells you something. This is from 1988, and despite all the stuff that has some good stuff that has come out in the 40 years, almost 40, that this story came out, this story still resonates. So how absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it's this story still I'm an older gentleman, so you could understand why it would be in my top 10, but this thing is in top 10 of people who are much younger than me. Again, I'm going to show you the black and white and just look at that. That's awesome. And so here comes the knife, and Joker's just like has had it, and Batman just grabs and punches him. They keep going through this dance. This is why Batman is on everyone's top 10 also as favorite character. Look at this. Batman may not be number one for everybody, but I guarantee you that it's on everyone's top 10 characters. Look at this. God damn it. I mean, you just didn't see that then. But of course, this wasn't a comic book. This was the prestige format. So they could do certain things that they couldn't doing it. So, and Joker's like, why don't you just beat me up and get it over with? And Batman's like, we're doing this one by the book and because I don't want to. So we get a nice little kind of moment. Look at this. Just beautiful, 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 beautiful. And so Batman is gonna try to make a thing for him. Like, we're headed for a point of no return. We have to stop this. And Joker's like, no, it's too late. And then he's gonna tell Batman a joke. Lovely. And so he's gonna make him a joke. Essentially, these two crazy people are gonna escape. And they're in an island, and one guy says, "Hey, I'll just use my flashlight, and you can walk across." And he goes, "Are you crazy?" And he says, Why do you think I'm crazy? Because you turn it off when I was halfway across. So I'm sure Alan Moore told it better than I did. I was giving you the Cliff Note versions of it. Now you have to buy the book so that you can get the joke or read the joke. Like I said, this book's available on Amazon. It's still in print, or at least it's maybe out of print, but it hasn't sold out. So we get to the last page, and Joker thinks his joke is so funny, and Batman actually laughs, and here the two of them actually really laugh as the cops are coming, and you can see now that he has been dragged away. And we basically end the way we started. So, very, very cool. And then you get like a two-page. This is from supplemental material that was added that was not in the original. Mark Waid is the writer. It's a two-page basically origin of the Joker that Brian Bolland basically drew. And we've had so many different origins, so we just don't know which one is which. And of course, here's the black and white version of it. So he was the poor comedian that we saw on the. He was a killer. He was the Red Hood, just like a criminal. Um, but even though we don't know, this part is part of his origin. This part remains as part of his origin, regardless of whether he was whichever one of those three. So. So, oh, lovely. Brian Bolland is such a. Oh, what an artist. And so we're going to end it here with an 8-page story that Bolland wrote and drew for Batman Black and White, the series. This is colored for the first time. It wasn't. It always was in black and white. And we go. So the story was published in black and white on as part of that Batman Black and White, which is also a superb series. So this kid's basically saying all these horrible things that he's going to do. But he figures that he needs to kill Batman. Batman's who he has to kill for him to be infamous. So he was originally going to kidnap a little kid or kill the Pope, but then decided that the Batman would be the way to immortality. And you can see here he's on a camcorder here. So he's talking about what his opinion of the Batman is. Again, love the Batmobile. And then, of course, again, the black and white version. It's kind of funny, but it works. That's awesome. Again, it almost looks a little silly. Almost. Here's Penguin. I love the bird there. So he's kind of making fun of all the stuff from the Brian Bolland is. They're not making fun, perhaps paying homage to some of the things from the 40s and 50s. Great illustration. awesome. Another money shot. I believe he was doing this in digital by this time. So I think he was working on the Cintiq. And so essentially what this kid was going to do is just wait until the Batman was done fighting one of his villains and beat him, and then bam! You can see that bullet just... Look at that. Ugh. And that's how he would kill him. And so he'd be dead, and everyone would miss him. And then I love this, how nonchalant. Before anyone finds him lying there, I'll be long gone. I'll destroy this tape. I won't have a motive. I won't leave a clue. I'm just an innocent guy. Then I think I'll finish my college education, marry my girlfriend, and have a couple of kids. A boy and a girl would be nice. Live a good and blameless life and go to heaven when I die. So those are the kind of the worst killers. These are the psychopathic killers. So I hope you enjoyed this. It was a real treat kind of doing both the regular and the black and white ones. So Batman black and white, Noir, Killing Joke, sorry. Batman Killing Joke, both the regular version and the Noir version, written by Alan Moore, drawn by Brian Bolland. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.